I wanted to send everybody a special message for Shabbos. This is Shabbos Zachor, and it's certainly a time of zechira of memories, marking 1 year since we really began to think about the pandemic and what it could mean for us, and certainly we all have our thoughts about that, and it brings up many emotions about how much can change within the space of a year. And it's a sobering thing, but at the same time, there's enormous strength to be drawn in these reflections. We know that there are 3 mitzvos of the 613 mitzvos that the Torah gives us that relate specifically to Amalek. One of them we just mentioned, Zachor. We have to not just remember, but even articulate, verbalize what it was that Amalek did when they came to assault God by attacking the weakest, the most vulnerable amongst us. So that's one of the mitzvahs. The second mitzvah is Mechias Amalek, that we have a war against Amalek, a war of annihilation. Now, the truth of the matter is that the Rambam says the optimal way to fulfill this mitzvah might be to get Amalek to cease their war on God, to adopt the basic principles of morality that are inherent in the Noahide laws and the Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach. But then there's a third mitzvah, which is that we're not permitted to forget. Lo tishkach will be the last 2 words that we'll read together on Shabbos of the mitzvos of Amalek, that we're not allowed to forget. So the rabbis all ask the question, if you already have Zachor, what exactly is lo tishkach? If you're already commanded to remember, so what does it mean that you're not allowed to forget? So the classical answer is Zachor bepeh. Zachor means you have to verbalize, and lo tishkach is balev. It means that in your heart you have to maintain a degree of memory as well. But Rambam interpreted things differently, and I think with a very important message. It would appear that the basis of the Rambam's position can be found in a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos about an unrelated topic, where the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, Kol hashocheach davar echad mimishnaso, a person who forgets even one word of Torah that they learned is as if they were liable for their lives. Harei mischayev ki'ilu mischayev benafsho. So the Mishnah says, what do you mean? People forget things all the time. Yachol takvalav mishnaso, you just forget. People forget things. So the answer which the Mishnah gives is, you're right. We're not talking about forgetting in that sense. But ufen yasuru milvavcha ad sheyeshev v'yisirem milibo. Until a person tries actively to remove the words of Torah from his heart. For that is unforgivable. When a person deliberately tries to dissociate themselves from the Torah. So the Rambam took that idea, it would appear, and he utilized that to explain what the mechayev, what the violation was when it came to forgetting Amalek. The Rambam says, lo tishkach means to deliberately try to forget. Lahashlich evaso v'sinaso milibenu, to dissociate ourselves from Jewish history. To say, what does it matter that, it was so long ago, so many centuries and millennia ago that they attacked us, who cares? No, a Jew doesn't think that way. Just as a Jew doesn't sit down and dissociate herself from Torah, a Jew doesn't sit down and dissociate himself or herself from Jewish history, from what happened with Amalek. And it's not just because we owe it to Jewish history, but it's also because we draw so much strength from it. How many times over the course of the last year, when we all have faced so many challenges in different ways, those who have had to spend way too much time alone, those who've desperately tried to parent under very, very stressful conditions, and those who simply missed their normal interactions and routines, and certainly those who suffered economically, and certainly those who suffered physically, and especially those who lost a loved one. Everybody suffered in different ways. But how many times over the last year have we been able to say to ourselves, and sometimes even to say out loud, what strength there is to be drawn from Jewish history, what our grandparents went through, what their grandparents went through, and to recognize that we are an Am Seridei Charev. We are a nation that has survived the sword and so much more. We're a people for whom resilience is in our very bloodstream. And so on this Parsha Zachor, at this time of reflection, which is a year's worth of reflections and memories and thoughts about what's transpired over the course of the last year. So in this year of Parsha Zachor, the Rambam's definition of Lo Tishkach, of not forgetting, is particularly resonant. We can't forget. We can't dissociate ourselves from Jewish history. To do so would not just be our betrayal of the past, but it would cut us off from a wellspring of strength, from the heroism and the self-sacrifice of previous generations. I want to wish everybody a wonderful Shabbos.